that could be questionable, really need to be comfortable playing those late game scenarios or seeing how a team composition works if you don't have the lead every single time. And maybe this team's a little bit more experienced with what they're going to be picking up today. Caitlyn taken off the table, high priority AD carry. Olaf quick to follow, something Cabo is probably pretty comfortable with.
Yeah, some target bans here coming in. Strong power picks. Caitlyn incredibly, honestly, potent AD carry. Jhin kind of rivaling her right now in terms of the tier list. I'm still just a really big Caitlyn fan because the utility she brings with traps, especially enabling the 1-3-1, is just so potent.
Definitely, and I feel like much more of a traditional hyper carry in that regard, whereas Jhin, even in the late game, you only get 4 shots, you still have these huge periods of vulnerability. It's not something you really can work around without having, obviously, no opportunity to build attack speed. But Aurelia actually is going to be taken off the table. Interesting to see that be such a priority ban, maybe something Vitality would have wanted, but now I'm curious what Expect is going to pick up without this on the table.
I mean, it's a reactionary ban here to the last ban Trundle from Vitality. So Trundle gets rid of the counter pick, then G2 has to say, you know what, you're not first picking Aurelia here. Vladimir and Nazir both off the table too. There is the Rise that's out there, but generally hasn't really seen that much priority, so we're just going to go back to the junglers. And one of the staple picks you can always pick is Nidalee. She can always outfarm and outpace her opponent, but then she lacks engage and crowd control, and some teams prefer that recently.
And really for Mighty Bear, I liked what we saw from his Nidalee yesterday. It felt like he was able to make a much greater impact than he had in a lot of his other games. And additionally, clearing the jungle so quickly for someone who already wants to be farm focused, it feels like it plays to Mighty Bear's strengths.
Yeah, it's definitely something where you can kind of play on your own a little bit. You hope to draft strong winning matchups. So right now, Vitality, with that pick, they need to kind of invest in at least 1 or 2 winning matchups. So in between those matchups, Mighty Bear can navigate, isolate the enemy jungler, and ward up. Here, G2, they're doing a rotation that's honestly often seen on purple side first rotation, because neither of these picks warrant a first pick on blue side, Sivir or Karma, but they just work so well together. AFK push, double mobility steroids, pretty decent bottom lane. Can get out laned by certain combinations, but even then, it's a skill matchup.
Going to be interesting to see. I like having this mobility as a start, kind of a core for a G2 composition, as well as something that Sven and Mithy are probably pretty reasonably comfortable on. Opposite side for Vitality, there's a lot of picks left open here after jungle. Do you think they just look to pick a bot lane of their own here?
Well, I would match because you need at least winning solos, and you can counter pick the bot lane here. Supports can drop further down the list to see what counter picks you want here. Luckily for G2, Caitlyn's out of the equation, and that ups the value from Sivir because Caitlyn lanes so well into Sivir. Usually, now you just pick a long-range champion, so it's either Jhin or Ashe here that I would expect.
So both AD carries bringing a little bit more utility to the table, and Nuke Duck kind of prioritizing that mid lane pickup of the Victor, a very strong champion. Swain's still on the table, however. I mean, I don't know how you feel about Swain. It's not something me and you personally.
That's not where you tell me. You tell Vedius. It's like, yeah, Swain's still up right now.
Yeah, I mean, I know Vedius' love for Swain. I hear it at least every day.
Not the biggest fan of the Swain mid right now. I think they're better options. As to this Victor, I like it combined with the Ashe. I think it's cool because Victor really strong in these team fights, but lacks the first move. Ashe can always bring that utility bot lane. Honestly, wondering what G2 is going to build with this mobility, because you can still play Sivir as like a core pawn in the 1-3-1, or you can just have like a Zerg composition in these team fights, but Zerging into a Victor and an Ashe might be risky.
It's going to be interesting to see exactly what they opt to go for here. Looks like the Zillion, Gragas will be locked in, but we are going to briefly...
They pick Sifa. Don't pick Sifa.
Don't pick Sifa competitive.
I've played one game with Sifa.
I went 4-2-9. And I mean, I'm not going to say that it's entirely because you walked into my lane 4 times, landed 4 perfect hooks, and killed the guy for me. But we did
we did well.
Yeah, we did well. Sorry. That's right. Batman does good.
We do well. Exactly. But yeah, it's also a typical mark of a bad player that he starts. But my score was XXX. So that's like the typical hint. But yeah, if you guys are wondering,
I never said I was good.
If you're wondering why we're on screen, players had to remake the lobby here. Something went wrong with one of the picks. Maybe get more information on that. Likely champion select will just be remade up until the point where the failure occurred, which is seemingly to be the rotation on purple side, second one.
Yeah, so Nidalee, Sivir, and Karma are all going to be the same as the news that I just got. So it looks like second rotations on both
Blue
sides.
Side, then. Okay.
Yeah, so maybe a bit of an error there. Not entirely sure what we're going to see, but interesting on the first few picks. We did see the priorities coming out. Sivir, Karma still the focus here from G2, and from what it looked like they were drafting, it felt like there was a huge room for like a carry style top laner with a Zillion, a Karma.
Oh yeah, if you play turbo top with all the speed boosts, it's almost too much because like all the good ones are taken out of the equation. You could definitely do that. I think it depends more even on the jungler though. The main influence whether top carries or not is one, whether it's a lane swap game, and two, whether the jungler managed to spend time in the top lane. With Sivir Karma, you can play kind of low attention bot lane. I wouldn't say low econ because Sivir Karma can fend for themselves very well, but you can leave that lane on its own and it will generally never die.
Solid place to be, of course. In regard, kind of having that flexibility in any one of these situations, and of course, it's going to be interesting to see what actually comes out in terms of lane swap options from both these teams and how they're going to play the macro game here. And I'm wondering if Vitality are going to do, as we kind of expect them to, sticking to comfort in terms of strategy and execution, or if they're going to continue to try new things. They've been sort of on and off in the last couple of weeks in terms of what they want.
Looking at this lane swap versus no lane swap debate, I'm actually wondering what's worth it more for Vitality. If they go standard lanes, they have an option to make Cabashard shine if Mighty Bear camps for him, because the Mighty Bear Cabo duo may be able to challenge Expect and Trick. But if there's one duo where that communication barrier will not be there, it's obviously between Trick and Expect, because they can always just switch back to Korean. As for standard lanes, Police and Kasing have shown lack of synergy, honestly, lack of individual playmaking ability so far too, that I think they will just get demolished by Sven and Mithy, who seem to have shown really a good understanding of this range support meta.
Yeah, so it looks like the Victor has been confirmed as well, which I assume means the Ashe has been locked in as well. So it's first two rotations, you're right, it was that second rotation. Ashe apparently not locked, so
not locked.
This is where things get crazy. Had a bug there. Maybe that is
going to be a Jhin.
Still the same similar option though, because I feel like that brings exactly the same things that you want to the table. You said Victor, great follow-up, but not a good initiator on his own. Obviously, Gravity Field, not the best target CC.
Guys walking the field. I think Jhin and Ashe do bring different things to the table in terms of lane. Yeah, they're high range. It's slightly more difficult to play it. Ashe is just kind of volley poke away. In lane, Jhin, you have to be wary if you just get zerged on, especially Karma. If she can close a gap there, get the mantra on you, the W on you with mantra or without, then you're obviously at risk of just getting blown up immediately. But in team fights, Victor and Jhin can just clean up so well. That ultimate is so deceptively strong.
Yeah, especially the fourth shot. I think if you're ahead and with the build that he opts for, having all that armor penetration and that flat AD, he hits like a truck. He's not going to get those crazy crits like we're used to seeing, but he definitely has so much raw power built up there in those exchanges. And
I'm gazing at your screen, not just ignoring your beautiful face, but we're back at the Champs League. Finally, here we go.
I got a compliment.
Predicting an Aurelia ban here.
Ooh, Italy?
What's Sivir Karma, I think, personally.
Oh my god. Are you the best color caster in the world? Is that what we're about to see right here? If no one's joining us and they're not going to have any context, they're going to be like, why is Krepo so smart?
How does he do it?
How does he know every time? All right, second rotation, Nuke Duck, definitely Victor. Mighty Bear could be a coin flip. Of course, I mean, this is obviously going to go, this is actually where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
We have to see now what Mighty Bear is going to lock in. We've talked a lot about the Sivir Karma lane. They opted for an 80 carry last time. Looks like they may mix it up this time around. Curious to see what they're
Wait, they're actually locking the Kench here. Interesting. I wonder where that's going. Top lane or support?
It's been a long time since we've seen a top lane Tahm Kench.
Yeah, Guts is a bit in the nerfs. In lane, it seems just not like a good idea to play into Sivir. Like, you're not going to eat somebody to make him dodge a boomerang.
And you talk so much about like double range lane, just having that melee support. It seems a massive disadvantage.
Very peculiar here. So this is honestly some cheese from Cabashard coming out. Like, it almost has to go top at this point.
Kasing has opted for it in the past.
Yeah, he is one of the main kind of Tahm Kench lovers. So maybe he does actually pick it up. But then he has the lane swap, I feel. Because it's so rough to play that into double poke lane. You just get annihilated, pushed to your tower, and there's no really counterplay. You have to walk up, get 3 stacks, and then eat somebody up.
Yeah, and we've already talked about how comfortable the Karma Sivir lane is playing both in standard lanes and lane swaps, so G2 are already set up for success in that exchange.
Yeah, G2 answering here with a gank-heavy jungler, bringing some CC to the table. So that means that Trick can play around Expect's lane in standard lanes. It is also hinting that they're going for a pure 1-3-1 with the Ryze in the mid lane. Ryze technically a flex right now, but very likely going to Perks in the mid lane. So it is that type of style that they're opting in for. 1-3-1, Sivir, Elise, Karma in the mid lane, Ryze on one of the side lanes, and then a strong counterpick top laner in the other side lane.
Interesting option, of course. Perks Ryze Suffered a lot in what we saw yesterday. May have a better performance today. Matched up against this Victor. Nuke Duck already opting for that cleanse. Does not want to get Chain CC'd out of this lane. Waiting on this last rotation for Vitality. This is going to tell us so much. We still don't know where the Tahm Kench is going. Heimerdinger's not helpful.
They have a good kind of poke comp here, though, on their towers. And they're going for a preemptive Gnar pick, saying that it will beat any matchup that Expect can pick up right now and bully it out. So yeah, if you look at Vitality right now, they want to eventually 4-1 split push. They will only have one teleport. And then they want to group it in the mid lane tower, hit a laser, anything. Tahm Kench tongue poke, a spear, a trap, and that can then enable the Jhin W, lock him down and blow him up here. The answer is obviously going to be rushing from the front, double flying from the sides from G2, so they will have very limited windows. If Vitality have good vision denial, that's obviously going to be paramount to their victory. G2, they need to either win individually in the lanes or start snowballing with these double TP plays.
I really actually like what Vitality are pulling out here. I've been enjoying the Jhin pick and seeing how it works in these team comps, and from what we saw of the last set, I mean, we saw Thresh Jhin used by Schalke in both games, and the Thresh felt like so often was used just to save the Jhin in these kind of tight situations, and Tahm Kench feels like it does something very similar. But with the final pick now on for G2, opting for the Fizz despite the nerfs we saw on 6-12.
Yeah, Fizz is actually a really good matchup into Gnar in the first few levels. You can just close the gap. We saw it yesterday being played too. You can outdo him in the first few levels. Eventually, Gnar will get the lane priority. So that's when Fizz needs to start joining other fights. Or you just need to get a kill here. Fizz is always running TP Ignite with the help of Elise. That's a super strong 2v1 with a lot of gap closing ability here to maybe corner Cabochard and put him down. So we need to see if Mighty Bear forgoes any farming advantage to maybe keep Cabochard in the lanes.
Which will be interesting, of course, because Mighty Bear has been primarily that farm-focused jungler. We haven't seen him have as much impact in those lanes, but with these compositions locked in, I like what G2 have built. This is a very strong kind of run-at-you composition.
Yeah, it's a very strong run-at-you comps, but these have one weakness. If they fall behind once, it's almost game over. If you get slightly behind, you have to run into this team. You can't obviously defend very well. Jhin will W you under the tower all the time, so G2, they're looking for a snowball.
And that's what we saw from them in Game 2 yesterday. They fell behind, wanted to snowball that Hecarim pick, that Aurelia. It didn't work out for them at all. And we have to wonder if they're going to have better luck this time around, or if Vitality can just play safe, maybe look to put G2 behind in the early game. And I mean, that's never where you want to be. And as you said, especially with this composition. But of course, take this time, head on over to Twitter at LOL Esports, hashtag VIT win or hashtag G2 win. It was all ties yesterday. So I don't know what you're expecting, but let us know. Of course, gearing up game 1 in our second set. Teams already getting ready to make their way out of the base. We talked about it already, Crepo. G2, very comfortable lane swap or otherwise, but how are we feeling about the Jhin Tahm Kench lane?
Yeah, Jhin just usually wants to keep his distance and have some peel. I think this is definitely where Vitality would want to lane swap, because I don't think they're going to take that 2v2 and come out of it with even CS. If they do, I'd be very impressed against, one, this matchup, and two, it being Sven and Mithy.
Yeah, of course, strongest bot lane in Europe, despite a few hiccups in their last few games. But you already mentioned that Fizz also has a pretty decent 1v1 matchup into the Gnar as well, so it seems like maybe the lane swap for Vitality overall is just better across the board. Yeah,
especially if you then dodge the first few levels and get Cabochard ahead. Fizz doesn't really snowball with too many items. This is why G2 is going for the preemptive swap. So again, this is not them attempting to dodge any matchup themselves. They want to match in top lane.
Trying to get a read on the situation. Of course, still a decent amount of time to maybe look for this, but Vitality seem very content to just set up for what they believe to be standard lanes. Of course, zero information gained from either side after those early wards.
It might be the double mind game. When it's this apparent that the matches have to be flipped, going into your Sandalades is actually just a preferential choice. They will find out by invading here, though. That's what teams are always doing. We very rarely see bot lanes just start on the Krugs or the Grom respectively, because they always want to check what's going on with the lane swap, because otherwise you're reacting too late, and your experience advantage only manifests itself in lane, and it's completely voided and useless in a lane swap.
Not going to find that in the end, so G2 get out-red by Vitality here. Jhin now free to farm up on the bottom side as Kasing looks to poke in on that jungle. threaten at least a little bit of harass. Now we kind of have to get to that stage where we judge the lane swap. Perkz, though, taking a ton of damage here in the mid lane.
Yeah, Victor, if he has the lane prio very early, has very easy laning against this Ryze. There's not much that Perkz can do. He should be able to just farm, base, and teleport. Remember, in any teleport matchup, you just take bad trades while you're farming, you base, and then you get your items and you come back into the lane. It's all even again here. Nuketook no offensive summoner either, so he has cleanse to stay alive, but that's about it.
Not going to be able to get too aggressive. Perkz trading back what damage he can. Minion's happy to back him up, but checking in on the lane swap.
Yes, losing some CS here.
12 to 9, really not. I mean, not where you want to be for Perkz. Had a rough day yesterday. Of course, in the lane swap, he's not going to get nearly as much attention from the jungle here in the mid lane.
Yeah. And then we can judge these champions here. You always judge them on AoE. We've talked about this so often. Top Guy is surprisingly decent because he can just gobble up a creep and spit it out. Takes care of one extra creep that you have to kill. And you have AoE. Strick here going for...
Oh, quick cleanse.
Yeah, I don't think he was kind of thinking about that play. It works if the enemy is not running cleanse because you trade flash for flash and you can just visit again later when he's playing this aggressive push style. But Nuketook didn't even flinch. He was just ready with the trigger there, and that's honestly a very impressive cleanse to do it that quick.
Yeah, just kept walking, it felt like. Didn't even stop in the animation there. Almost Captain Jack level. Let's watch the Silver leave the base. Seems appropriate. Of course, G2, though, now resetting into the next stage of the lane swap. Cabo. Wait a second.
They didn't take the tower, though.
Vitality didn't take. Took me a second to process that. I'm like, oh yeah, next step. We've seen this 100 times. So what actually happened?
I mean, he just bounced the wave, but he couldn't get through the tower in time. The minions died. So there's 30 HP left on that tower. When the minions leave, the tower gets a big armor bonus. Again, because it only gets lower in armor because there's a minion around. And sometimes these guys fail the math.
Yeah, definitely not where you want to be at all on the side of Vitality. It's going to kind of mess up a lot of this early game and guarantee G2 a decent gold lead. Mythy is relentless. Just running in here, trying to stop these backs in the end.
Yeah, it just means that if you look at the gold count right now, it means that obviously these top laners usually get the solar gold on towers. So right now, despite being everything seeming somewhat equal, Cabochard is already 400 gold behind his counterpart expect, and that's actually going to be massive because on first back he's going to be being able to buy much less items, and that's going to snowball eventually when they meet up.
Yeah, not at all what you want to experience here. Expect, of course, with Darksteel as well, such good, strong early itemization.
Yep. Corruption Bolt, Darksteel, really good for a harass build. Especially, even if these teams like equalize the gold by taking a tower down inevitably, the gold distribution is different here. Because Cabochard won't be picking up that gold, it'll go to the 80 carries. And 80 carries matchups can play around gold swings a lot easier because supports can always have a little bit of cushion there. In a pure 1v1 matchup, gold swings are just more important.
Yeah, significantly more important, of course. Cabo going to see what he can pick up here on the top side. And we talked about what would happen if G2 fell behind, but talked about Vitality, 4-1, looking for this split push. Going to be much more difficult if Cabo continues to suffer in these exchanges.
Yeah, and if that's going to be a driving factor here, and then they have one winning side lane with the Fizz, that obviously changes the scope of the entire game here. Because then Vitality won't be able to group mid as quickly. They can't force the secondary side lane teleport split push to join the fight immediately. And with the amount of wave clear they have from Karma and Sivir, they can actually decide the pace of the game.
Exactly where G2 want to be, and we've seen how quickly they can snowball again.
Cabo. He got it this time.
Backdoor bonus, not enough. Thank God there's no vision in that bush. Running those minions down. Mythy and Sven, of course, already here, though, so still a very significant tempo advantage in favor of G2.
The gold deficit has shrunk despite CS being even, so that means that they must have shared gold on the bottom tower here.
Interesting. 500 gold for G2, not massive. Mythy poking his head around, laying down some vision. Mighty Bear on the bottom side, maybe hoping to catch out Expect here. He's playing pretty forward. Spear prediction not going to land.
It's a very stale early game.
Yeah.
Huh?
I mean, we're waiting for people to kill each other, I'm not going to lie. That's pretty much always what play-by-play casters are waiting for.
Can somebody please get a knife and start stabbing? Or a laser.
When you put it like that, it makes me feel like I'm a little bit of a sociopath. I prefer, that's why I refer to it as action. It's not violence, it's action. Of course, tower will finally fall, as we mentioned earlier. Gold not going to go over to the favor of G2.
And we see it here too. Calisteer being picked up on a very early base by Perkz, and suddenly all is well in the world.
Yep. Mighty Bear showing his face in the mid lane, but as you said, Perkz, now that he has those items, now that he has that fundamentally infinite mana pool, pretty free to farm up, to get aggressive. And Nuke Duck, yes, he has the cleanse still available, but the Rise damage is still incredibly oppressive here.
And both of these teams are taking lane swapping to the extreme because the first dragon is a Cloud Dragon, and nobody cares about the Cloud Drake. So you keep going for the mirror swaps all the time. If it's like an Infernal or a Mountain, we'll see bot lanes meet in the bottom of the map a lot sooner, maybe after first, second tower, but now we're going for the extended base race strain here as well. At least now it's getting interesting. Who has the biggest cojones and who has to back off?
Looks like G2 are going to start this one sooner. They have the Elise as well.
The Victor's coming from the side, so one good sweep. If he waits for the minion wave to settle, he can actually take a lot. Yeah, this is really good wave through the Chaos Storm.
Oh, Cannon Creep goes forward though. Still have Spiderlings on it. They are going to be able to break the tower. This is a weird game that we're so excited about.
Oh, and now mid lane is under siege too by the Rise. We see some people basing it, so they're not going for the early inhib.
G2 already backing. This is a... What is happening right now? Of course...
It's very dangerous to take an early inhib because it gives a free freeze to the enemy top laner, and you just starve your top laner on the map. And if you have kind of a bit of a scaling comp like G2, I think you don't really want to do that. You want to make sure that your expect can be funneled farm, especially if you have poor macro. So I think just taking the tower down and swapping is fine. It's just... Yeah, it's peculiar to say the least.
I just feel bad for the Cloud Drake. All this action, he's not getting...
Hey man, at least he's alive.
That's true. I guess I shouldn't feel bad for the Cloud Drake.
He sees all his sisters and brothers die pre-8 minutes, but he himself lived a long relative life. Like in dragon years, this is a lifetime, you know? Like dog years are like, what, 7 times a normal year? Dragon years are like 10 years for every minute.
He's gonna be like 200 by the time he finally drops.
Why do you think they call it an Elder Dragon? He spawns when he's like 350 years old.
I like that we've set this up. I hope someone is like committed to this enough that this becomes a part of the lore.
Hey man, we have a lot of room in our lore, luckily enough.
No one's ever really explained where the elemental dragons come from. We know about their lifespans now, though. We figured it out.
He's gonna be a grandpa soon.
I know. It's a rough life. Gonna break the 100 mark. Good for you, little Cloud Drake. Little, I guess he's not little, I guess he's a grown man.
Grown, full dragon almost.
No longer. No longer.
Let's see how long he can last this game.
We'll keep you posted. We'll give you the updates. Give you the Cloud Dragon timer. Oh, myth.
Oh, Mighty Bear got it on the way out.
Nice. Mighty Bear. Happy to grab that one. Gonna balance out the gold a little bit, although it's still relatively even. 59 to 41, the CS differential here for the junglers. But in the mid lane, Perkz is starting to really dominate out here. 73 to 91 in Perkz' favor.
You're getting really into it. You're leaning in the screen almost.
I'm ready. It's also just really comfortable.
It's just very hard for me to even see my monitor right now because
you have another monitor.
I have this play-by-play, literally leaning in front of the screen, waiting for action. Every minute passes where nothing happens, his face is drawn like an inch towards the monitor. So hopefully somebody starts killing somebody soon because my vision will be entirely obstructed by Sifa's glorious beard.
I hope so too. I would like you to be able to give commentary outside of my facial features. But I mean, if worse comes to worse, I think I'm happy to make the sacrifice. I hope you are too.
Great filler material. All right, we're still in the lace up, guys, so there's really not much going on. Expect is now catching a wave in the top lane. Let's see how long it takes him to kind of push that out and what Vitality is doing with the remaining pressure on the other side of the map here. Because the slower top lane pushes, the more room for action on the other side of the map here. But Mithy's actually going aggressive.
Snare. Mighty Bear flash away, still gets locked down. Kasing here with the tongue to back him up. TP coming in. Mithy is going to have to flash out from the stun. Ulti from the Jhin. Cabo moving forward. Mithy's only level 4. First blood.
And this plays in what we were just saying, right? What is Vitality going to do with the pressure they can put, right? Because Expect is being slow in the top lane. So G2 have committed to making their top side the strong part of the map because that's where they're being slow on the plays. They're going simultaneously for an invade on the bottom. That's honestly a mistake. You can't do that. You can't push out your top lane slowly while going for a play in the bottom. Watch this again. Like, look at how slow Expect is approaching this play, and Mithy is still going in here. So what's Vitality going to do? This Gnar's already in the bottom lane. He doesn't care. He can just join the fight immediately. And where is Expect? This is another play initiated by G2 Esports where their teleport is late to the party because the communication just isn't there.
It's a rough life, and of course First Blood may not give too much of a gold lead, but it will mean the end of the life of our dragon here. He made it to about 105.
May he rest in peace.
115, rather. So of course, Vitality happy to have that extra movement. More happy to see what dragon spawns next, unfortunately. But Still taking these small advantages, and we really have to wonder what G2 are going to do next, because Perkz just looks desperate to find something here.
So yeah, okay, right now they could go for plays because they have a pushing wave on the top lane, right? So you always need to judge like aggression with a cadence. Whenever you have one of the side lanes pushing right now, what Expect is doing right now is building up a massive wave. What is the reactionary play? Well, Cabashard is basing and he's going to catch that wave. So now Expect can base, he can move to the bottom side of the map and potentially invade enemy red jungle to drop some wards. G2 can now dictate what part of the map they want to play on, what's going to be their strong side, because somebody is stuck dealing with some farm. Now, if Cabashard pushes out immediately, he can counteract that, or Vitality as a team can play passive to funnel farm into their top laner and get him CS advantages. So these are some of the choices that these teams are continuously making. The speed at which they push side lanes out with, or just generally which part of the map they want to play on.
And it feels like the name of the game changes when you commit so hard to these lane swaps. It's no longer big choices like where you really want your jungle pressure. It becomes a game of wave control. And
yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say who has the advantage. Why Vitality has been struggling. They're a team that's used to playing around these split waves.
And look right now, Cabashard is taking his merry time, relying that Nukta can clear this wave right now. So you need to see if J2 is going to kind of make an action on that and find a pick somewhere, because they get free vision wherever they want, because they have a numbers advantage on the map technically.
Definitely a good spot to be. Perkz moving over to solo clear this. Trick and Expect debating whether or not to start this one out. Are just going to pull it out of the pit.
Oh, they definitely can.
Gonna get it. Of course, the question is, how much is this going to mean for Expect in the top lane? I mean, obviously a huge advantage in terms of 1v1 matchup, but he hasn't even really had the opportunity to go toe-to-toe with Cabo just yet.
Yeah, he will eventually find Cabashard. Both Perkz and Expect will be playing the later stages of this map on the side lanes. He is now down 20 CS despite being even just now, because Cabashard took his time. So that CS advantage, so you know, the 20, 25, 30 is traded for a Herald. You know, you play passive on the map, well, then you leave the objectives ripe for the taking for your enemy. As well as, the Nidalee is actually not that far ahead of the Elise. Usually you see large CS advantages from Nidalee into the Elise matchup, so Trick is doing a good job kind of staying somewhat relevant here.
Mitigating the losses there, trying to keep up as best as he can. Of course, the bottom lane now shifting into the mid lane for G2. Perkz continuing to be a pushing threat on the side lane. I mean, G2 picking up the 1-3-1 mantle that I think we kind of expected out of Vitality. Interesting, you know, pick ban coming in from them. But the issue is, of course, unless Nukeduck runs out of mana here, they're not really going to have any opportunity to clear out mid.
Yeah, but their pressure is not aimed for mid from G2's side, at least. They just want to hold. They just want winning side lanes. But right now, Cabashard, with the early cleaver spike and the level 9, is probably going to bully out Expect unless Expect goes for an all-in. And he also has the support from Mighty Bear, so this is good. Only problem is there's so much pressure on the bot lane, so Vitality, they keep swapping sides here. Instead of committing to the 1-3-1 game, they just keep trading objectives. And that way, they don't really get into a position where one of the teleports kind of outmatches them. So in a sense, this is a smart adaptation from Vitality. They just need to make sure that they don't lose too much on the bottom side here.
This is the most extended lane swap I think we've ever seen.
But I like it. Trading sides makes you go even against a 1-3-1 who kind of wants you to lock into these lanes, because otherwise, Expect a TP bot, or Perkz can always TP top if Vitality matches. They're TP down, so this approach is actually pretty smart for them.
Stun goes down onto Nukeduck. Does have cleanse, is going to use it in the end. G2 not going to be able to pick up a perk, but a little bit of action on the top side. G2 now set to burn through the second inhibitor tower. Sven and Mithy already in the mid lane. G2 are taking control of the map.
And despite this reaction here from Vitality, they don't push through. They don't commit with their numbers advantage, and they allow G2 to just keep playing on the bottom side, so they don't base in time. So this is a good start, but they don't see it through.
Oh,
and now G2 is
out. Vitality Bear. Mighty Bear with some fancy footwork. TP has to come in to save the mid lane, but at the end of the day, G2 very much comes out ahead in this play, extending that goal lead and now starting to bully down in the mid lane. Good spell shield from Sven to block that out.
Yeah, we see also why Sivir is at least laneable into the Jhin, because you can always just very telegraph W. You can always block with a spell shield.
Excellent place to be. Mithy, though, clearing out what vision he can. Going to be interesting to see what the next step is for G2. They found a small advantage there. Kasing moving in to play some deep vision. Will be spotted out by the Wolf Spirit, and suddenly Nukeduck now playing on the side lane, something we like to see from him.
Yeah, but not on a Victor. Victor never wants to be on the side lane. That's kind of the weakness of this comp. So ideally, Victor and Jhin want to be in the mid lane, whacking away at the tower. But obviously, to maximize farm distribution across the team, somebody needs to pick up some side lane farm once in a while.
Mighty Bear could be in trouble here. Mithy looking for the snare. Not going to chase it down. Italy just a bit too fast. Expect quick hop over the spear.
Yeah, and that's going to be an opening for Vitality here in the mid lane. So look for double TP flank. Honestly, from G2, they likely will pull the trigger, but there's no wards below them at least. So, and they're backing off too. Vitality is so scared to commit to almost anything.
Just slowly losing advantages across the map. Of course, gold, I mean, it's still relatively even. No one has a massive advantage right now.
Yeah, but Vitality were in a position what their composition wants to do. They want to group as a 4-1. Because if they back out now, they're dealing with the split pressure again. So whether their vision is lacking or they're just too scared of a potential teleport or they're not aware that they swept all the wards behind them, they seem to be very much so always be on the back foot.
G2 now running down to get control of this vision. Perks running in. Police is in trouble. That's not where you want to be. Oh, flash out. Yo Moose, Perks, Kasing on the way. Catch is going to say nope. Looking for the snare, is going to get locked down. Perks actually suddenly in trouble. Flash over the wall from Nuke Dog. Perks going to drop. What a turnaround.
And by he's dead, I obviously meant Perks is dead here because clearly he's going to overchase and knock it. But Police, no, that was a really great flash here from Police. Honestly, I had him dead to rights, but he managed to flash away from the danger by moving towards it, technically, and then wait for his team to circle around. Perks should have just disengaged though. He had a way out there, but he over-greeted.
And once again, this is a little bit now Perks just getting behind in that exchange. We can watch. Dead to rights, but just a beautiful flash. Perks.
Yeah, right here you don't chase. You don't go into this rush if you're Perks. You just saw Yomus popped and you're not going to outrun him. You're not suddenly going to run quicker. Your Rise is not going to turn into Usain Bolt all of a sudden. Like once the Police is quicker, you know his team is collapsing.
It's only Usain Bolt when he pops the ult and it's a limited time frame.
Yeah.
Really interesting that Perks has tried to commit to that. I mean, maybe just eager to make something happen, but now they're giving up another Cloud Drake. Of course, not the end of the world, but as these start to stack, it's going to make it easier and easier for Vitality to respond across the map.
Yeah, the one thing about Cloud Dragon is it's not that useful as a stat, but at least it amplifies your Elder. If this game goes slow, and G2, despite having a really good late game comp, they run into Elder Dragon on a poke composition, they're going to be in a whole world of pain here because Vitality could get another Dragon that's a triple stack. That means they're dealing over like a 180 true damage on every single poke. That's going to add up then.
Absolutely, especially with a tanky top laner like Fizz, who really can't afford to be taking any form of true damage at all. Very reliant on those defensive stats. G2, though, they're moving into the mid lane. They are going to be able to break down this tower, start to extend that gold advantage despite giving up those dragons and those kills.
And both teams suffering a lot here from Vision. 1-3-1 is a strategy that's been plagued by just the lack of double sidestones in the current meta. That's why we sometimes see jungles like Rek'Sai, even Elise go back to the secondary sidestone after some items to really just layer some wards in between the lanes. And then people like this Ryze and this Fizz can play ultra aggressive. Right now, Vitality in position. Because there's no objectives to be taken. All the towers on the map are already gone, so on the side lanes at least.
And you can see, expect with no TP, good opportunity for Vitality if they want to siege, if they want to set up as you said they should.
I don't think they're aware. I don't think their timing is accurate because expect to use it earlier to mid lane, I believe, but I don't think Vitality is accurately tracking that because if they were, they could have just hard pushed here into the mid lane. They're almost over-respecting G2 Esports at multiple points in the game.
Yeah, playing so safe. Maybe not feeling quite as confident as they did last season. Much further down in the standings. Sean's talked about getting back to basics, but I mean, you just can't. Sometimes you need to make proactive plays. G2 continuing to look for something. Vitality continuing to just back off and play safe. Really waiting for G2 to make a massive mistake.
And then the jungling continues, sadly.
Yep.
I want these guys to commit. I'm just looking at like their strategy and
My
like,
face can't get any closer to the screen, Crepo.
can we get some action? Yeah, I know. I see Sifa nudging. He's like, hey man, do you wanna chime in with some beautiful points here? I was like, no, because there aren't really that many points to be made.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing that they've been doing.
Yeah, when the goals of the compositions are so clear, on one side the 1-3-1, on the other side the 1-4, and one side doesn't even want to play towards their strengths. Like Vitality, they're playing net neutral. Like they're just neutralizing G2's pushes wherever they can. They've traded every tower that they can so that they didn't have to choose. They didn't lose an inhibitor. They picked up a loose dragon here once in a while because G2 made a mistake. Like the style that Vitality is playing right now is like half of what Fnatic does. Fnatic always take the smart choice. They never go for a risky kind of out of the box maneuver, but at least they commit when they have the macro advantage. Vitality go halfway. Once they get the macro advantage, they say, nice, we got the advantage. Let's go back to our base.
Yeah, really the cautious play counting against them, feeling like they probably could have a decent lead at this stage if they had just committed on some of those, I mean, potentially riskier opportunities.
They have choked out the vision. There's very few wards. There's a couple of pink wards here though, so if you look at teleport opportunities, it's almost at Raptors for G2. There's a lone ward here, top left. That's a trinket ward. That's it. So they're having a hard time kind of knowing where the enemy is and then committing. And there's no side lane turrets to suddenly kind of siege on either due to these extended lane swaps. So the map is almost too large for some of these teams.
Yeah, you expect waiting in the brush, spotted out by that trap in the end. Perkz continuing to push on the side lane, matched up against Cabo, but the rest of G2 now moving up to the top side of the map. Defiance used, chasing down Nuke Duck. He's really caught out here. Snare gonna drop. Perkz gets pulled into the center, but Nuke Duck is set to fall. Gnar on the way into the fight. Cabo, he has the Mega, but can he get it out? Hopping through, trying to get Perkz. Good flash. Police locks him down and picks up the kill. Alt comes out. Will it be the curtain call for G2? Are they going to drop? Just going to be...
G2 find the opening pick here. Perkz moves in from the bottom lane to the mid lane, and he surprises Nuke Duck, who wasn't ready for that maneuver. Vitality was shifting their attention to the top side of the map, then shifting back, and suddenly, out of nowhere, after all this kind of patience and posturing around, G2 finally find an opening, and the gold lead increases to 3,000 gold.
This is exactly where they want to be. Such a fast comp, potent when it comes to flanking. They found the opportunity and they capitalize on it. Something that Vitality have failed to do, and it's starting to cost them dearly. As you said, 3K difference now. G2 backing, clearing out the waves, and in a great position to simply rinse and repeat.
Yeah, I need to see how exactly that all went down. Nuke Duck summoners weren't even used right there. Was he? Did he even drop or did he flash out in the end? Let's see. Nuke Duck, he must have dropped, right? Like, yeah, so he walks up, Perkz gets behind him, Trick goes behind him. Yeah, look where Vitality is on the map. They're all returning from the initial play. Nuke Duck just knows he's dead to right, so he's not using any abilities. Shark comes in. Police with a nice follow-up, really good W here to finish the fight. And then it's just a simple 2-for-1 because G2 was quicker on the collapse. They kind of started that play and Vitality was walking back through river from top lane, very weird pathing. Nuke Duck slightly overextended. So yeah, the lack of vision on a map so large is creating opportunities, but we need these teams to start seizing them.
G2 though, as I said, rinse and repeat. Vitality now looking for something. They're setting up a bait around the Baron pit, but Perkz, he still has that TP. He walked his way up into mid lane last time, and now he's looking for the flank. Nuke Duck caught out again. Live or die by Nuke Duck. The Vitality mantra costing them so much as he gets dropped. The rest of Vitality there on Baron, but Expect goes into the team. Police caught up. Kasing to save the day. Cabo, he has the Mega Gnar, but will it be enough? Mighty Bear in the back of the pit. Expect moving forward. Trick, the double Korean squad, hunting down as Kasing will fall. Cabo almost out. Perkz suddenly in the back. Police, he's going to drop too. G2, massive advantages, exposing the weaknesses of Vitality.
Yeah, the lack of proactivity on the side of Vitality finally got punished on the back end of that play. Previously, they left some wards around, and then it was a simple pull the trigger, TP behind. Nuke Duck gets caught out again. Vitality had no goals in mind. They kind of started the Baron, just reactionary, had to peel off, and suddenly they find themselves 4 kills down, and now it's super easy for G2 to close out this game.
Absolutely. Baron buff empowering them. Amazing wave clear on their team, and a constant threat that they can just dive in. Fizz, of course, still has the Eve of Doom buff. Or rather, the Hand of Nasher buff. I can't remember. They keep changing the names on me, man. But still a potent split pusher. I'm going to watch this one more time.
I mean, at this point, the fight's super easy. Send your fish at 4 people. One guy will catch it. Expect the only thing notable here is that he doesn't go for police, doesn't overchase because he doesn't want to get close to Cabashart next to the wall. So he just pokes out Kasing. The trick comes in, but Perkz is from the bottom side again. Mighty Bear is forced to peel off to the right side. It is just cleanup duty. After the initial pick, once the Victor goes down, such a cornerstone of this composition, Vitality is honestly, yeah, it's just going to get swept here. But it's so sad for me to see this. This game delivered almost nothing of value. There was no plays to be made on the side of Vitality. At least go down fighting. At least make a proactive move. Because all this trading shenanigans, it's good to negate the 1-3-1. But then once you are grouped as 4, at least push through. Go for the poke siege. Enable your composition.
Yeah.
Why else pick this Jhin Victor combo?
And on the one hand, we have to be happy with teams who are good at playing defensively, who know how to neutralize the strengths of an enemy composition. But at the end of the day, you have to kill people to win the game. You have to take objectives, and you have to make aggressive moves. It's not a game about... it's not tower defense. It's League of Legends. You got to commit more, and Vitality just
At least in
not been
tower
doing it.
defense, in the games that I played on the old Warcraft engine, you had an attacking component, you know? You're spawning all these minions that went to the opposing team's towers. I always played offense. Let somebody else build my towers.
I like that. Not really an option for Vitality. No one on their team to play offense this time around, unfortunately. But G2 more than happy to play offense across the board. Threatens this inhibitor. Honestly, I don't know what Vitality can do here.
Oh, 1-3-1 just loves Baron buff because they get stronger on each and individual lane. They can just peel back. They don't need to take any risks. These cannon creeps will do most of the work too. Look at it, just 1 tower, 2 tower, 3 towers drop down, inhibitors are exposed. It's so easy for a 1-3-1 to close out with Baron buff.
I mean, you're saying it and we're watching it happen. One inhibitor falls, the next one's set to fall.
Yeah, it's just like we're watching dominoes here. Once the first one falls for Vitality, which is that play in the mid lane where Nuke dies, all the other ones are just going down in a chain reaction, and nobody's like thinking of sticking their hand in between the dominoes. Hey guys, we can stop these from falling. So,
and they're just backing off. Once again, Vitality conceding the last inhibitor. G2, they're gonna end the game here. Vitality, this is a slow game. Vitality may be looking to turn it around. But suddenly G2 just take control and they're going to end. I mean, Vitality aren't even fighting. They finally pick a fight and it's too little too late. 3 members of G2 are on the Nexus. Nothing is left for Vitality, and when they hesitate, it costs them everything as they drop in game 1.
yeah, this game, and still the cameraman is surprised every time. No, this game was a sour taste in my mouth, honestly. Vitality, I just like felt like they didn't come to play here. They had, honestly, not a bad composition. I like what they brought to the table. 4-1, siege in mid. If somebody gets caught, you can Tom Kench them out. Every single one of your 4-man group member, Nidalee, Victor, Jin, and Tom Kench, have a ranged ability that can at least hit an opponent, which can all enable that Deadly Flourish from being cast, and then Jin can follow up with his ultimate too. So all these things are right in place, and then once you peel back, you can have Nard teleport in the back line, you know, to join.
Yeah.
If you have really good vision control, which they had, you can deny some of these double teleports, but they weren't tracking teleport timers. They weren't watching the double TP, and G2, all they had to do was wait, scale, and find an opening.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what they did. The second they found those flank opportunities I felt like Nuke Duck died twice and the game was over.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, we saw some picks traded back and forth. We saw...
We can have like a package of this game is like lane swap, 2 Nuke Duck deaths, Nexus blows.
Yeah.
Fast forward.
Well, let's take a look at like the first blood, the kill that kind of started. We didn't see action for a long time in this game, but
this was actually an overreach.
Yeah.
So this was one of the rare mistakes here, or one of the mistakes from G2, because right now expects freezing, or not freezing, but he's slow pushing on the top lane. Guess what? You make a play at the weak side of your map, the other team can just react quicker.
And level 9 Victor to level 4 Karma, it's just, I mean, 2 abilities kills her instantly, right? There's just not enough in the health pool to really live out there. And G2 overextending, I thought that was going to be really rough for them. You did too. I mean, we thought Vitality was going to be able to take big advantages there, and then they just, I mean, they didn't do anything.
Yeah, because multiple times the map control always shifts. It's never always in control of one team, because you're pushing a wave, and the wave will inevitably have to bounce unless you're freezing, but then you yield the map too. And once the wave bounces, that's when the other team can put pressure on the map, and you have to kind of catch. But Vitality never used the window where G2 was catching the waves to put any pressure whatsoever. And I know it's harping on the same story. I know you guys were listening a lot of the same things here.
Yeah, but we saw one phase of this game, 2 phases. We saw lane swap and then hesitation.
Yeah.
I guess, and maybe a 3rd phase where Nuke Duck got caught. And I don't want to harp on Nuke Duck too much, but when you...
Oh, it's a team.
It's a team effort, right? At the end of the day, one person gets caught. It doesn't matter if it's Nuke Duck or anybody. Someone got caught against that composition. In the end, it costs a Baron, and it's just simply too much.
Now, I hope that G2 learns and sees that like this wasn't a super easy game for them. That they realized at one point, you know what, if they pushed here, we would have been in a whole world of trouble. And that they take at least that experience from it, because otherwise, nobody learns. And so it's the game.
Yeah,
and I don't want that.
It was, you know, I don't want to count it entirely as a wasted game. I'm hoping both teams walked away with this from something, because obviously there were a lot of issues on both sides. And, you know, we want to see both these teams grow and develop.
Definitely.
Right, yeah. But of course, over on Stream 2, H2K and Unicorns of Love have been duking it out. And let's take a live look in on that action right now.
Other games are getting pretty ridiculous today. 30 minutes on the mark. Unicorns, they get another Mountain Drake. So this gives them even more power to siege down objectives, even more power when the next Baron, next Dragon starts coming around. So this is looking good, with Elder being on the horizon.
Look at Ryu's positioning. He's coming out onto Chachi.
No. Chachi turns around, looks for Ryu, but that is a big Gnar against the wall, and they actually leave Chachi bleeding against the wall, but Exile coming to the rescue means he won't die.
Chachi had a Guardian Angel there as well, so it was a matter of H2K deciding on whether they all in to pop the GA and risk ending up dying when they come back out, or you just are content with the damage onto Chachi, force him back. Oh, good cancel from Freeze, gets himself out of there, so that's now the Bard ultimate and the Jhin ultimate not available. UL continue to push.
A little bit of damage here and there, chipping away at the base. H2K trying to hold on. Unicorns, though, this game performance from them, it is so much better than what we've seen in the last couple of weeks. They're starting to climb back in, and H2K, a team that we looked at as being one of the tops here in Europe, is on the verge of falling down to one of the lowest in the rankings.
And a lot of it has been because Move in the early game was putting the pressure onto Jankos. However, that's transitioned from there. Oh, they got Freeze!
Oh, they do! Exile with the big burst. Chaos Storm is in, but they're able to go through the journey into the wall. Chachi into the back line. This man just doesn't care. Straight through the box they all go. Chachi on a rampage now, and that's surely going to be inhibitors, if not more.
Oh, Exile once more!
And
he got him!
He gets it! Woo! Fancy footwork. One inhibitor down, they look for another. Odo's got Meganar, but there's no team here.
There's no team, and there's no end to the game for H2K with a happy ending at least. It's going to be Unicorns that are pushing in for the win.
Oh, if you thought this had a happy ending, Stretch.
Interesting, of course, see how that game is unfolding. We're going to take you away right as the game is about to end. Nope. If you want to watch that, you got to go to stream 2.
But you don't want to watch that because you want to watch us, obviously.
Yeah.
But what a surprise. Unicorns are actually beating H2K.
That is insane.
That, like, well, in a weekend where everybody's tying, and obviously this game is going to turn around and G2 is going to get tied by Vitality too, because that's in the script.
No, we had a 2-0. We had 1-2-0. Shaka, we're not a fan of whatever script we put together.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? F that script. I'm just going to steal this Baron.
We're just going to turn this around.
Yep. But no, it's just surprising that they're actually winning that game. Loving the Bard Ashe combo.
Yeah.
Really fun lane to watch.
Yeah, and of course, if you want to see that, EU LCS 2. But here on EU LCS 1, as the players get ready to load up into our second game, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our coverage of the European LCS.